For our last episode, I wanted to take a look at the hypnosis industry kind of as a whole, because I know that in one capacity or another, you've been basically building your career, and this is, you've been doing this for quite some time now. And
Hmm.
so I imagine that you have a really good hindsight of the industry, which I would, assume means that looking forward, you would be able to give us some insights into how the industry is going to develop. So, one big thing, I think, just because we kind of touched on it at the beginning of the series, was talking about hypnosis and how it's becoming more widely accepted, which is great, but it's still not fully, all the way there. But how has the acceptance of hypnosis like changed over the course of your career, whether you were, employed or as an entrepreneur? How has that changed, and how has that impacted you?
Well, in the past 10 years alone, you're seeing a growing legitimacy of hypnosis in medical and mental health communities. There are a tremendous number of studies that have been done on the efficacy of hypnosis for
Mm-hmm.
surgery on cancer patients. You're seeing a lot of its use or stays on its use with issues, a range of issues. And it doesn't matter if it's through fears and phobias to depression. They're just trying to see if um, people who take advantage of hypnosis, if there is traditional tracking and research that can be had. You're also seeing an increase in online apps, like, with meditation apps, you're seeing Calm or Headspace, and then you've got
Mm-hmm.
Hypnobox or DigiPill, which are also guided meditation apps. So there's an increase, which they're more in line with self-hypnosis, but there's an increase in seeing everyday people using hypnosis for fears, phobias, relaxation, anxiety, sleep, smoking cessation, weight loss, all of these different um, issues. And it is not a substitution for working with a professional, but you do see the growth there. There's also sort of a little interest, or should I say a lot more interest in the professional medical community, such as therapists and psychologists, in seeing the legitimacy of adding hypnosis to what they utilize and use for their
Mm-hmm.
clients. And they're also understanding that, okay, well, we need to talk to traditional hypnotists and find out. And just to reiterate, I'm talking about clinical hypnotherapy or hypnotism. I'm not talking about the wonderful stage stuff that you see when you go to Vegas or any place else. That stuff works and that helps, but that's short term, that's just for laughs, and that has nothing to do with the long-term change that one is interested in when you go in for
Mm-hmm.
clinical hypnosis. So
Okay.
you have that, you have all of that information towards what they're doing in that direction.
So, for somebody who's looking at hypnosis as a possible solution for any of the, issues that we've discussed during this series, um, what's what might they see when they're looking at, okay, somebody who's a traditional hypnotist who says that they can help them versus, somebody who's a clinical hypnotherapist? I feel like the distinction is probably pretty important. Is there something that they should look for, whether that's meeting that person or talking on the phone or even just looking at their website? Like, is there something that, I should be looking for if I'm looking at hypnosis as a solution?
So yes, you want to have someone who is not just um, I know hypnosis. You want
Mm-hmm.
someone who is trained as in hypnosis, meaning they can or don't necessarily have to be a licensed medical professional, like a
Mm-hmm.
therapist or a psychologist or a psychiatrist, but they also have to have someone who has years in the field, who has done the training, who has done all facets of the training, who has done more than just a weekend. And you'll find that people who do clinical hypnosis, as opposed to those who just deal with relaxation, they tend to look at the ways to help you switch off and maximize your efforts. People who are just in it for a minute, they have a tendency to really want to just help you relax, and maybe they know a little bit how to be effective, but their objective is more mindfulness, where hypnosis has to do with change, growth and change, goal acquisition. That's what I say
And
anyway.
I just had a question pop up in my mind. So I think we've talked about this in the past, but um, the places where one could go to get trained and certified, we don't have nearly as many of them on the East Coast, right? As when compared with like the West Coast, because you got a lot of your training in Arizona, which I think is considered the West Coast, um, even though it's not on the coast. But so is that still true that we just don't have as many here on the East Coast, or maybe they're all in New York City or something? I don't know. What do you think?
Well, you find, I think people I think people learn the
Hmm.
best ways for them. So you'll find a lot of schools online. Um, you'll find them in different states, but they are growing. They are
Okay.
growing on the East Coast. One of the things that I failed to mention and what you're looking for, and this is how I find you can find a school the same way, is if
Oh,
you
okay.
go to one of the associations. For example, the state that I live in now doesn't require licensing to practice hypnosis. Since that's the case, I personally am certified by two different groups because I
And
want
that state
people
is Maryland.
because I want people to know it's important to me that I've taken the training, that I've sat and been tested, and there are states, or there are different areas or countries even, where you do have to sit. England is one of them. They have professional boards, and you don't necessarily have to be a licensed medical professional to practice hypnosis, but you do have to
Hmm.
sit for their hypnosis board. So finding the school is best by going through one of these associations. American Council of Hypnotic Examiners is one of the people that I belong to. They can send you to an approved school. They've been around for almost 50 years, and they have been certifying hypnosis across the country for that long. Um, National Association of Therapeutic Hypnotists, that's another one. And that's on
Okay.
the East Coast, they're in North Carolina. But you want to check with one of these associations to see if this person is who they say they are, has the knowledge that they say they do, and can help you get where you want to go.
Okay. And I think even though, and just from a marketing standpoint, even though Maryland doesn't require the certification, it's a huge differentiating factor. I think that you have invested that much into your professional development, because that's a huge flag to me, as somebody when I look at like I still haven't, I've had one business coach the entire time I've been in business, and I'm still looking, for another one. But that is something I always look for. I don't care what's required or not, but the sign of investment into your own professional development is huge for me, because you're asking for an investment for me, arguably. So that's something I don't care what state you live in. I would, yep, always
I'm
put it
and
up
I'm
for
still
sure. Because I mean,
learning.
of course, you're proud of it, but
Yeah, and
I
I'm
would
still
always
learning
use it.
because things change and things grow. I was looking at an article 2 days ago, 2 days ago, and this is not a new article, this is an old article. And what they were talking about were the difference in the way trances used to be conveyed in hypnosis versus their efficacy now, and their
Hmm.
time length. And I was like, ooh, I need to go back to school to figure out if there's a new way that I can. I mean, it excited me about what I love of finding a different way or a new way to add to the skill set that I have. So,
Well, that's a sign you're on the right track. Speaking of new, um, I'm sure there's a ton of research going on regarding hypnosis. So I would love to learn something else that you found that was, really new and exciting, especially as it relates to proving efficacy and proving, and getting more people interested in something that, has the potential to help them a lot.
well, I regularly troll the NIH. website, and I just simply type in hypnosis to see what the new studies are. There is one particular person, Dr. Guy Montgomery, who does a ton of studies on hypnosis. So anybody that really likes to dig into the minutia or the data, science on that should look him up and track down and see what the latest studies are that he's done. But NIH funding has done a lot of studies on the neurodynamics of hypnosis, on how if it can enhance recall. Because if you remember 10 to 20 years ago, they changed hypnosis being used in legal proceedings because it could create false memories. So,
wow.
if you look at some of the trials from back then, it was really not good. So what they want to do is they want to determine, can hypnosis really be used for recall, or how can it be used for recall? What components can be used for recall? Hypnosis for cancer pain management, because there's some cancers that people cannot get any relief through their pain management with sedatives or narcotics. So hypnosis, NLP, has been found useful, and they're looking at a lot of different studies that way. So I'm always up on trying to see the various ways that hypnosis can be of use to people.
Oh wow, I'm very interested in the memory recall. That's fascinating. I'm just imagining, like you said, those trials were probably pretty awful. Um, yeah. Okay. So again, just a reminder for everybody, if you did not catch it at the end of the last episode, Stefanie is running an offer through the end of the month for a 30-minute session, no strings attached. And like I said in the last episode, she says no strings attached. She means no strings attached. It's real. I feel like that's important. I feel like that's important with all these webinars, and everybody's like, I actually just had in a Facebook group, somebody was like, 30-minute coaching session for free. I'm like, no, you have 61 connections on your LinkedIn profile. I can't find you on Instagram. Who are you? All right. So Stefanie means it. No crazy long, like, she's not pitching you. It's real. She wants to help. So take advantage of that if you feel like you need it. And then I also have a link in the show notes for her guided meditation recording. I cannot wait to do it myself.
Oh, and I want you to.
Stefanie,
I want you to do it. I want you to do it, and I want your feedback on it.
I will. And so last thing, how can people find you online? Where should they follow you? Do you have an email newsletter they can sign up for? What do you have for people to connect with you?
So yes, yes, and yes. So on LinkedIn, you can find me as Stefanie.Booker.Atchison. On Instagram and Facebook and Twitter, well, on Instagram and Twitter, I am Heartwise Mystic. And on Facebook, it's Heartwise Holistics. And you can private message me on all three of those areas to take advantage of the offer. Or you can go to my website, which is heartwiseholistics.com. And at the bottom of the homepage, you do not have to search. The bottom of the homepage, it says I'm ready. So if you're ready, click on it and we'll set up that 30-minute session for you.
Okay. And I promise she's not paying me for this, but I went to one of Stefanie's retreats last year and it was fantastic. And one of my regrets, or one of my disappointments for quarantine, is when I remembered that Stefanie was going to do another workshop, even longer this time, in April. And I was already like, I was waiting for her to make it so I could pay for it and have my spot. And so if you come across that opportunity when we can congregate again and she's doing it again, I would highly recommend you attend. Just to give you an idea, I would go to Costa Rica for nobody, but if she told me she was having it in Costa Rica, I would go. So that's why I invited Stefanie on the show, because I am a super fan. I am a super fan.
Aww.
And that's why I wanted her on the podcast, because I just knew that this was something that people needed. And for my, first series since February. I couldn't have asked anybody better. So thank you so much for coming, Stefanie, and doing this with
Thank
me.
you. Thank you. I'm so honored, and you just filled my cup and my cheeks hurt from smiling.
Okay.